When I was a young kid with messed attention span who couldn't even focus for half a second. Half a second. In half a second, I'd scroll. Half another second, scroll again, 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 and continue this cycle. I couldn't even read. I could barely even read. This isn't even interesting. One paragraph. Whatever. Another bookworm. I looked at all the other people reading books and books and books. I thought they were nerds. I laughed at them and they were, oh, bookworm, nerd. And I laughed. I still scrolled, ate terribly, I was lazy, I did barely any physical activity, so I was out of shape, mentally, physically. My attention span literally was half a second. I'd go on YouTube Shorts after I'd get back from school, home, pick up my phone, delete all my notifications, click YouTube, some random short about this cooking tip, this tip, that tip, this guy, this. I barely read. My eating habits were terrible, to say the least. Most of my day I spent either working on homework, scrolling, playing video games, hanging out with my friends, or scrolling. These these three things were the major things I did. In school, when we were told to open our books up, I'd open it up. I wouldn't even pay attention. I wouldn't pay attention. I'd literally look up at the teacher. I didn't even pay attention for half a second to what she was saying. I was literally sat with my arms crossed like this, staring and staring and staring, pretending like I was listening because my attention span was literally terrible. I was literally in my thoughts thinking about when I can get back home, scroll, eat McDonald's and pizza and burgers again. So I'd be sat with my arms crossed, looking at the teacher, waiting until I can get back home. They always put an assignment in classes. You have to read. Essentially, you have to read or else your grade will go down. So, sure, I read, but what I put on the book report, it was terrible. I put some random information from a portion inside the little book and I just closed the book away. Or even in class when we're forced to read, I just quickly flip the pages to act like I'm reading. Because, like, I could not read at all. Because I couldn't even focus. I could read the words and everything, but I couldn't even focus for half the time. So, while in school, whilst we'd be reading a book together, while the entire class would be reading Percy Jackson or whatever book, I'd have the book in front of me. And I'd be flipping through the pages very, very quickly to act like I was reading. So they'd be speaking, reading out loud the book. says the page, I wouldn't even be paying attention. I'd look up and down at the rest of the class in the book, and then guys flip to the next page. I'm like, I thought it's only been a minute or two because I've been looking up and down, the teacher and the class and the book. I thought it's been a minute, but turns out it's been more like 10 or 15. I flip the page. I repeat that same thing. 10, 20, 30 pages later, we have to write some sort of summary or something. And on that, this is probably the reason why my reading grade was terrible. Or, what was it? I had a B plus in reading. But even half the time, I didn't even read the book. Everybody else getting A pluses 100 in reading, and they're like a bookworm. I always looked at those people and laughed. I thought it was quite funny. But as time went on and I became more mature and understood what's in books, how to actually read it, start reading, and everything else, I started absorbing knowledge like crazy. In my mind, knowledge, wisdom, everything improved. You see, because one time when I was scrolling and scrolling, I found a short from Luke Belmar explaining how the top 1% of men read books. The top 1%. The top 1% of men finding what information is valuable. Because he stated in 3 or 4 shorts while scrolling. The first one he said, well, if everyone, something along the lines of, if everyone's reading How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie or The 48 Laws of Power, you're not gonna get the top results. You have to actually find the information and scatter around and find the right books and the right information. So he said to find the books doing that. And then on the next short, this is the part where he explains how to actually read books. Now, I think my version of doing it is far better. But in the original short, he states skim through the book. Skim through the book. If you don't know what that means because you're a retard, it means you just kind of look through the book, you just kind of scan and flip around the pages a little bit, find the information that's useful, and then you implement it. My version, I don't want to sound egotistical or arrogant, but I think this is far better. So say you found the book, say it's The Way of the Superior Man by David Data, which you should read it, you retard. You pick up the book, open to the first page, look up and down from paragraph to bottom, and you want to read it twice. And then you want to get everything that has value. So it could be in one of the principles, it says this. Take that information, journal it, or you can also just make sure you remember it in your mind and you don't forget it because it will be very, very important. But don't have the mindset they teach you in school about how to read books when you just flip one page, read the entire thing, and just repeat that. Don't do that. Back to the point. So say you do that. You find what's important in everything, remember it, After that, you want to keep going for maybe 10, 20, 30 pages. And you want to keep remembering everything. Don't forget anything. If you can't remember it on your head, in your mind, in your brain, take a journal out and write everything. Write everything out that's important. Put it in there. So do that 10, 20, 30 pages. Say you have all that information on the journal. You want to read it from top to bottom. You want to make sure you have everything down. You can read it, and it's like a summary. Just read it top to bottom and make sure you get everything implemented. Start reading because there's lots of knowledge.